Okay, hi everyone, welcome back, and in this update we are going to check out ZBC's chart and see what is happening in the short term, and I think the structures do actually kind of suggest what might be the next likely move. So the picture is sort of kind of clear, but before we get into all that, at first we are going to talk about this very important article from Cointelegraph about ZBC, and they are saying that right now ZBC network is trying to frame itself as one of the first real movers in real-time stablecoin payroll, and the timing could not be any better. Now, the big shift in here, according to at least this article, is regulation. You see, in the United States, you got the Genius Act finally giving a federal framework for stablecoins, and in Europe, you got MiCA, which basically forces transparency and full reserve backing. Now, for years, stablecoin projects were building in this kind of sort of gray area, but now the rules are actually giving them room to grow instead of just slapping them with enforcement. And that, my friends, is a big deal for companies that are trying to go mainstream. And ZBCN network isn't just sitting in the Web3 corner anymore. You see, they started as a Solana-based payroll streaming protocol, sure, but today they are working with charter schools, payroll providers, and actual enterprises, and they are already handling more than, I think it was about $300 million in payroll volume in the US alone, and that is definitely a real business footprint. Now, on the stablecoin side of the stuff, they have also expanded quite a bit, and of course, they've got USDC as the backbone, but now they also support Ondo's USDY, which is a yield-bearing stablecoin, and this is actually kind of interesting because it means that companies can actually earn interest while at the same time holding reserves for payroll. And also, I think I forgot to tell you this, they added PayPal's USD, Currency One's USD1, and even EURAU, which, in case that you haven't watched the previous update, it's basically a euro-backed stablecoin that is compliant with MiCA, and it is fully backed by Deutsche Bank's DWS, Galaxy, and Flow traders, and that kind of lineup positions ZBCN across both United States and European markets. And I'll be honest with you, I mainly care about United States market because in Europe you do have a lot of regulation challenges. And since ZBCN is actually based on US, in my view, this is going to be a big advantage for them, and that might very well be one very important reason for why most likely in this market ZBCN is going to have some beautiful price appreciation phases. Now, when it comes to compliance, ZBCN actually has SOC2 certification, and they are also working on ISO standards, and after buying Gatenox, they have got a stronger KYC and compliance infrastructure. Now, I think this is actually the key because payroll is not only about speed, it is also about meeting regulator expectations across different jurisdictions. And again, once more, it seems like that there is actually a theme going on in here suggesting that ZBCN is trying to work on different areas around the world, which is definitely not that bad. But again, I think their main focus should be on United States since it is such a huge and fantastic market. And also ZBCN, since it is kind of a US based project, it's actually perfectly positioned to benefit from this market big time. Plus, they also have partnerships with Algorand, World Mobile, Payroll Finance, and even Assure. And these definitely show that they are embedding themselves into fintech, HCM software, and even emerging markets where payroll plus connectivity combo are definitely a huge challenge. So when you put all this thing together, I think you immediately realize that ZBCN is trying to position itself as a serious piece of payroll infrastructure, not just simply another crypto application. And so far, well, okay, I think it does seem like that everything is on the right track. Now, before we get all too carried away, let's just be real for a second and talk about also some challenges. You see, big enterprises do not just simply flip the switch and move to new payroll systems overnight. That's just not a thing. And even if ZBC's technology saves money and time, HR and payroll departments are notoriously slow, and rightfully so, I would say, because compliance, audits, and also employee trust are on the line here. So adoption okay, technically could take a bit longer than most people expect, but that's just going to be very, very normal. It's very important to understand that. Then there's also the competition aspect. You see, ZBEC isn't the only player in this area trying to crack this space. No, Circle, PayPal, and established fintech payroll providers, they all see the same opportunities, and ZBEC has the advantage of being an early mover and having the streamer model. But in my opinion, like we also talked about this subject in the previous video as well, it still has to prove that it can stand out against giants with much deeper pockets. And finally, let's talk about execution risk real quick, because scaling globally and at the same time staying compliant with different tax laws, KYC requirements, and banking integrations is a very heavy lift. And ZBEC has shown progress in this area, but delivery at a scale will be sort of kind of the real test in here. So with all that said, I think the overall tone of this article from Cointelegraph is kind of important to notice. You see, according to Cointelegraph, ZBEC is trying to go big or go home, and it seems like that they are definitely going big, and they have been successful in their path since they have such great partnerships. And that is exactly where the bullish side of the narrative comes in clutch. You see, we are entering a period where regulation around the stablecoins is becoming more and more clear, both in the United States and also Europe. And ZBEC already has a footprint in mainstream payroll with over $300 million processed annually. And with EURAU, I think ZBEC Network is aligning itself with the future of regulated digital money in Europe, which is definitely awesome. So what's the takeaway from this article? If, and this is kind of a big if ZBEC executes well, it does sort of kind of have a shot at becoming the default stablecoin payroll infrastructure globally. And think of it like what Stripe did for online payments. ZBEC wants to do basically the same thing for payroll and real-time settlements. Now, I'm not going to say they are going to absolutely be successful in this path, but let's just say this. Even if they manage to attract a fraction of the adoption, I think that is still going to be huge for them. And the token, I think, is going to see by the end of this cycle huge price appreciation. So in terms of fundamentals, I think we are definitely in the right direction. Question: what is happening in terms of technical analysis and specifically my field of works, Elios Waves? Now let's go on the live chart and see what is happening. If you remember the last time that we talked about ZBCN, we were right around the highs, and the idea was that if you insist on being bullish, then your best shot at finding the right structure is if you say maybe these are a series of 1-2s, and for example, this can be 1-2, and we said what you want to see in ZBEC in order to be bullish with much more confidence is a huge breakout into wave 3, 4, 5, and that one on a higher degree has to be into this wave 3, correction for 4, another move up into wave 5, and specifically we drew this very important ascending channel, and we said as long as we are inside this thing, we need to be still a bit patient and careful, because my primary scenario suggested back then that most likely these are actually the subwaves for a beautiful ABC flat, suggesting what our move down overall is going to continue, and we are going to take the lowest low all the way down here about, let's say, 0.35 of a cent. So question, have we done that or not? Let's just hide everything, zoom in more, and as you can see, no, we still haven't taken the lowest low. However, I think we might actually take it. So what? Before we get into that, let's just go on maybe H4 time frame and tell you that overall in ZBEC, no matter what is going to happen in the short term, I am still going to remain absolutely bullish for two very important reasons. Reason number one, I think this is quite a slow and choppy move down, and as you can see, between our pullbacks up, we are just constantly able to identify overlapping of the waves, which is what, yup, you guessed it right, a characteristic of a corrective movement. Reason number two, in terms of how long did it take for us to have this move down from this point to about here, as you can see, This is taking us about 310 candlesticks on H4 time frame. On the other hand, this big move up from the lows about 0.2 of a cent to all the way up here around 0.6 of a cent only took us about 190 candlesticks. So to me, this suggests that in the current phase down that we are at the moment, bears are actually failing to pull the price all the way back down to the lows, meaning what? Bulls are still quite powerful, and odds are maybe from the current point, or maybe if I'm right, from like just a bit lower, we are going to start having yet another strong move up. And I actually do have another very important reason, and that comes down to Elliot's waves. And if I just do this, okay, so what do you have off of the lowest line here? I think this is a clear cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside, and followed by that, this move, like we talked about it earlier, does have all the right characteristics to be a correction. So why not considering having a wave 1 and the correction for wave 2? And well, if this count is in play, what's gonna be next? I think you know the answer. Very, very good move up into wave 3, 4, 5. And you want to know that in terms of Elliot's waves, wave 3 right in here is known to be quite a strong and sharp move on the upside. So every single structure on ZBCN, when you go on some higher time frames, for example, this is H1, they look screaming bullish. Having said that, I think in the short term, we're going to get a move down. And here is why. You see, if you want to argue that I am wrong and we are actually going to have our final low, maybe right in here, maybe this is like a very important support. You know what? Fair enough. Show me off of the lowest low then. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave in order for me to flip bullish. This specific structure is called an impulse. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, excuse me, our wave 3 should not be the smallest wave. And when it comes to the sub waves, I believe you know what I'm about to say. And in case you are wondering, why am I talking about this in every single update? That's because these days about 85% of you guys are new viewers. So for those people, I feel like I should explain what I'm doing in order for them to understand what is going on maybe a bit better. And for those other 15-20%, well, I'm sorry that you are finding this content repetitive and boring. Anyway, for wave 1, 3, and 5, we must be able to find 5 waves on the upside. And for wave 2 and 4, okay, we can have different counts. Let's say ABC into wave 2 and the WXY into 4. Let's go on the live chart and see what is happening. And assuming that in this initial bounce, you are able to find a 5 wave, fair enough, you can be bullish. If not, then okay, you have to say, this is going to continue on the downside, and in it we are going to take the lows. And since this is so close to the lowest low down here, well, okay, odds are in this move we might very well go down and take all the lows. And this is actually the main point. Let's go on 15-minute time frame. Question for you: how exactly are you able to find me in here a 5 wave up? In my view, finding it is very challenging. And I'm not really sure how, but let's say you are somehow able to find a 5 wave and I'm not. Okay, then let me tell you this. Finding a 5 wave in this area is so challenging to a degree that it shouldn't even be your primary case. And I'm gonna say odds are this can be, yeah, okay, maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, followed by, where is it? There we go. Maybe like an A, B, C, D, E in form of a triangle. And guess what? This is yet another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside. So essentially you are actually having the sub waves for an ABC zigzag on a higher degree and not a 5 wave impulsive structure, suggesting what? Well, our move down in ZBCN is going to continue, and in it we're going to take the lows and most likely the lowest low, which I think it was somewhere around 0.35 of a cent. So as you can see, in the short term, sure, we are still stuck inside of this channel, but based on only this short-term bounce, I am sort of kind of able to tell you, look, you should probably be prepared for a move on the downside in order to get a breakdown in this channel. And here is the situation. That is absolutely 100% not going to be a short opportunity, okay? It's very important to understand that. In my view, the coming move down most likely is going to be the last leg down in ZBCN, and after it's over, you are going to get a very quick bounce back, which in it, I think by the first target, we are going to take all the highs and we're just going to go probably quite a bit higher than that. And for example, if you go short right around here, I think you are going to end up losing quite a good bit of money. So I do think in the short term, we're going to get a move down. But point number two, this isn't going to be a short opportunity. And point number three, if anything, and you want to buy, for example, ZEBEC for the next couple of months, this can be the perfect buying opportunity for you. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in ZBCN's chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.